Today is June 29th, and today's quote is entitled, "Don't run from yourself." Humility means to not run in fear when faced with your own reflection. One of the challenges we have in advancing in Krishna consciousness is to be thoroughly honest about where we're at and to not artificially or in an illusory way imagine that we're more advanced than we are. The problem being is if we imagine we're more advanced than we are, then we can't deal with the realities of where we are and work on the things we need to work on. Now, the false ego, it has a tendency to elevate our conception of who we are beyond what's real, and that's called arrogance. And low self-esteem takes the conception of who you are and brings it lower in an artificial way, not in a humble way, but in a way which is unreal, which in a way depresses and discourages you. So low self-esteem on one side, arrogance on the other side. They're the same sides, two different sides of the same coin. But a lot of us are afraid to confront our own reflection, to actually look at what's wrong with us. Yesterday I was dealing with a person and I was explaining that there was a problem, and the problem had developed several years ago because of something that had happened, and I didn't want to tell the person that what they did was wrong, but what they did was wrong. And the person responded without recognizing that what they did was wrong. And I saw that the reason is that this person thinks that he's a good person. So because he thinks he's a good person, it's really, I would say, almost impossible for him to recognize when he does something wrong, because he only sees his actions motivated by the goodness within him. Now, I don't deny that he's a good person, but he did do something that was wrong, and he didn't admit it. And from the context of the conversation, it seemed that what he was saying was that I was the one who did something wrong, not him, but he's gotten over it, and I should get over it. So I was reflecting on this, and I was realizing that for some people it's extremely difficult to actually look at themselves as they are, because their conception of who they are and actually what they're doing is sometimes so different that it would shock them, and they wouldn't be able to bear it or handle it. So it's not even within the realm of their consciousness to see it. And so this is something we can learn for our own selves. That, if you have a concept, let's say your concept is, I'm a good devotee, I'm an advanced devotee, I'm a nice devotee, I'm a nice person, I'm a good person, I'm a good husband, I'm a good wife, I'm a good father, mother, a good son, daughter. And I'm not denying that you are, but if that concept is molded into your ego, then if you act in a different way, it can be extremely difficult or impossible to see it, because you're not open enough to see the times that you don't act that way, and that's really important. And I acknowledge that it's difficult, and I acknowledge that it is painful also to even be open to the idea. And a lot of times when people try to present to us that we've acted differently from how we see ourselves, we can get very, very, very upset, and we can reject it, we can condemn them and so forth. But if you ever do that, I think it's good to acknowledge what's going on, that somebody is presenting to you a different self-conception than you have, and you're strongly resisting it. And that strong resistance should be a sign that your ego is fighting this. It's desperately trying to hold on to a certain conception you have of yourself. And it's really hard for you to see it any other way other than that conception, and somebody's bringing another conception, and you're really resisting. And this comes up a lot in close relationships, especially in marriage, because partners, out of their affection, out of their kindness, out of their willingness to help their partner, will sometimes tell their partner, you do this, and I don't want you to do this because it's not good and people don't like it and so forth, and you may resist it because it doesn't fall within the conception you have of yourself. And it can be very, very, it can cause a lot of friction within the relationship, but it's better that you see it for what it is. It's somebody's trying to help you and show you a blind spot. You just don't see it. You can't see it. Your ego doesn't let you see it. Your ego doesn't want you to see it. It can't let you see it. It's just the way it is. So if we can become a little more humble, gradually we'll be able to see some of these faults in ourselves and accept them. And then we can work on them. But if we don't accept them, then there's nothing to work on. And so that becomes a problem. When there is something to work on, we don't acknowledge what there is to work on. It's obviously a problem.